I uploaded the DNA test results to the family group chat with a trembling thumb. The Thanksgiving dinner table frozen in a tableau of half-carved turkey and congealing gravy. Screens lighting up faces like accusatory ghosts as Uncle Victor's paternity fraud exploded across every phone, his suave mask shattering in real time. The revelation hitting like a gut punch that he wasn't Grandpa's son, but a con artist who'd infiltrated our bloodline for the fortune, disinheriting us all while framing me as the greedy black sheep. Cries erupted around the linen-draped table, forks clinking to a halt against porcelain plates, the metallic tang of tears salting the air as Aunt Miriam clutched her chest, her pearls rattling like loose teeth. And Victor's face crumpled, wine glass tipping over in a crimson spill that mirrored the blood ties he'd severed. Bitter revenge hooked the room into a vortex of shattered illusions, the scent of roasted herbs turning nauseating in my throat. But as his eyes locked on mine, pleading, haunted, I felt the sad weight of it all. This truth I'd unearthed wasn't just his undoing. It was the slow poison unraveling the fragile web of family I'd clung to for years, leaving me hollower than before. The dining room in Grandpa's old Victorian house on the outskirts of Boston felt smaller that evening, the walls papered in faded florals, pressing in like judgmental whispers, the chandelier above casting flickering shadows from the single bulb we'd never replaced after the storm last winter. I was Nora, 42 now, a studious genealogist by trade, flawed to my core by an obsession that had started as a passion for roots and twisted into a relentless hunt for truths that others buried. Readers might pity me, root for this quiet woman with her wire-rimmed glasses and ink-stained fingers, because beneath the resentment lurked a desperate empathy. I'd lost my parents young, car accident on an icy road when I was 15, leaving me to Grandpa's care. And Victor had been the uncle who stepped in, or so I thought, teaching me chess by the fire, his laughter booming as he let me win. But that empathy warred with the darkness in my methods, the late nights poring over records until my eyes burned, questioning if my pursuit was justice or just a sad echo of abandonment. The motive stung like an open wound, losing my birthright, the family fortune Grandpa had built from nothing, a publishing empire worth millions, because Victor had manipulated the will, painting me as the avaricious one who only cared about money, all while he siphoned it away under the guise of family stewardship. It began subtly, years ago, in the musty attic of Grandpa's house after his funeral. The air thick with dust motes dancing in slivers of sunlight through cracked windows, the scent of old books mingling with the faint mildew of forgotten trunks. Grandpa had passed at 92, sharp as ever until the end, but his will was a shock. Everything to Victor, my uncle by marriage. No, by pretense, with vague bequests for the rest of us, including me, his only granddaughter. "She's always been too focused on the past," Victor had said at the reading, his voice smooth as aged whiskey, clapping my shoulder with a hand that felt heavy, insincere. Nora digs up ghosts instead of building futures. The lawyer's office had smelled of leather and ink, the papers rustling like dry leaves as I scanned them, my heart sinking. Betrayal wasn't cartoonish rage. It was the quiet humiliation of being sidelined, the fortune that could have funded my research center for lost histories, now funding Victor's lavish cruises, and that sprawling lakeside cabin where he'd host family gatherings without inviting the troublemakers like me. He'd framed me subtly, whispers to cousins about my obsessive inquiries into family lore, suggesting I was after the money, not the truth. The hurt was real, visceral. Eviction from the family home I'd shared with Grandpa, scraping by on freelance genealogy gigs, watching Victor thrive while I mourned not just the loss, but the erasure of my place in the lineage. Victor wasn't a cardboard villain. He was complex, a suave imposter with hidden regrets that made the revenge all the sadder. Widowed young, childless, he'd married Aunt Clara, Grandpa's daughter, only for her to die in childbirth, the baby not surviving. Grief had twisted him, or so the stories went, but ambition sharpened it into something colder. Infiltrating the family? It started as survival, perhaps, posing as a distant cousin to win Clara's heart, but escalating to forging documents when Grandpa's fortune swelled. His charm masked it. The way he'd slip me extra pie at holidays, his eyes twinkling with feigned warmth, or counsel me on my stalled career with advice that rang hollow now. But layers peeled back in my research. Old letters hinting at his outsider status, a con artist's past in faded newspaper clippings from the 70s, small-time scams before he latched onto our name. He mattered because he was family by choice or theft, his betrayal cutting deeper than blood ever could. My plan was smart, resourceful, a genealogist's precision-turned weapon. Secret DNA testing on artifacts from the attic, hairbrushes, old razors, cross-referenced with public databases, culminating in a timed leak during the Thanksgiving to maximize the familial implosion. No violence, just the scalpel of truth, but setbacks loomed from the start. Moral complexity shadowed every step. This would free the legacy but destroy lives. Victor's exile, perhaps Aunt Miriam's heartbreak, and my own taint from being the harbinger. Stakes were sky high. Legal battles could bankrupt me. Emotional fallout might sever the last ties I had. The theme wove through it all, sad and bitter. Blood ties thin, but when forged on lies, do they snap or strangle? Justice versus vengeance. Could uncovering the past heal my identity, or just amplify the powerlessness? Escalation crept in gradually, inevitable as autumn's chill. First, small wins in the quiet of my apartment, a cramped walk-up overlooking the Charles River, the hum of traffic below syncing with my laptop's fan as I swabbed samples under desk lamp glow, the sterile swab tasting of plastic regret. Results trickled in over months. No match to Grandpa's line for Victor, instead linking to a Midwestern con family. Tension built with subtle clues. During a summer barbecue at the cabin, the air smoky with grilled burgers and lake water lapping the dock, I toasted vaguely, to blood that binds. Watching Victor's smile falter, his fork pausing mid-bite, gravy dripping like blood. He grew paranoid, small risks mounting. Anonymous letters I'd send hinting at family secrets. His replies curt, laced with warnings. Drop it, Nora. Some graves stay closed. But I pressed, the stakes rising with each family event. Cousins' weddings where I'd overhear his boasts, the floral scents, turning cloying as resentment boiled. The major setback hit like a freight train, 3 months before Thanksgiving, in the rain-slicked streets of downtown Boston. I'd hacked his email, a risky flourish, my fingers slick with sweat on the keyboard in a dimly lit cafe, the aroma of espresso masking my nausea, for confirmation docs. But Victor, ever the imposter, had set traps. A counter-hack alert pinged, his voice on the line moments later. Nora, what the hell are you doing? Panic surged. I bolted from the cafe, rain pelting my coat like icy accusations, heart pounding as I dodged through crowds, his footsteps, real or imagined, echoing behind. A chase ensued, cinematic in its desperation, slipping into alleys reeking of garbage and wet pavement, my breath ragged, phone clutched like a lifeline as I deleted traces. He cornered me near the harbor, the foghorn moaning in the distance, his face twisted in a mix of fury and fear. You're ruining everything. For what? Money? You're just like they said, obsessed. His words stung, mirroring my flaws, but I slipped away, the encounter escalating dread. Now he knew. Stakes familial collapse imminent. Legal threats looming via his high-priced lawyers. There, tension coiled tighter, each step earned through haunted resolve. I doubled down on the plan, securing irrefutable tests from a private lab. The sterile white room's fluorescent buzz amplifying my isolation as the tech handed over results, her sympathetic glance cutting deep. Clues escalated in toast at pre-holiday gatherings. At Aunt Miriam's tea, the clink of china underscoring my quip, to true heirs? Victor's eyes narrowing over his saucer. Bigger risks, confronting a cousin for a sample. The family picnic's picnic blanket damp with dew, whispers turning to arguments as suspicions stirred. Moral doubts assailed. Was this freeing truth or destroying the illusion that had held us? The twist brewed naturally from my obsession. Delving into Victor's past for leverage, I uncovered his confession in a hidden journal, digitized from a storage unit hack. Regrets poured out. I loved Clara, but the money. It was my way to belong. Forgive me, old man, addressed to Grandpa. It revealed his character, not just con, but a man craving family. His fraud, a sad bid for identity. Complexity hit hard. Revenge would expose him, but echo his own desperation, thinning blood ties further. Thanksgiving arrived shrouded in false cheer. The house alive with the sizzle of stuffing in the oven, cinnamon and sage wafting through rooms strung with paper turkeys from grandkids. Family gathered. Cousins, aunts, Victor at the head like a false patriarch, his laugh booming over appetizers. I sat quietly, plate untouched, the turkey's golden skin mocking the pallor of lies. As grace ended, forks poised, I hit send, the group chat exploding with PDFs, graphs linking Victor to strangers, the will's manipulations highlighted in red. Screens lit faces. Aunt Miriam's gasp, a child's confused, "What's DNA?" Victor's wine spilling in slow motion, staining the white tablecloth like an accusation. Chaos bloomed, cries, accusations flying like shards, the fork clink ceasing abruptly as plates pushed away. "It's not true," Victor bellowed, but the twist landed. In panic, he confessed, voice breaking over the din. "I did it, for love, for a place. But yes, the will, I twisted it to protect the fortune from her greed," pointing at me too late, the damage done. The fallout was a slow, sad unraveling, consequences lingering like fog over the river. The will invalidated overnight, lawyers swarming the house next day, papers shuffling in the living room's stuffy air, the scent of yesterday's feast souring. Victor exiled himself, packing bags in the guest room, his shoulders slumped, a final glance at me haunted with regret. "You got your truth, Nora. The fortune redistributed, my share enough to fund dreams, but tainted. Cousins eyed me warily, whispering I'd stirred the pot for spite." Emotional wreckage. Aunt Miriam's heart attack weeks later, blaming the family implosion, her hospital bed rails cold under my hand as she whispered, "Blood was thin anyway, but you made it vanish." Relational bonds frayed. Aunties cut ties, grandkids' calls ceased, leaving me in echoing silence. Legally clean, but the obsession that drove me deepened into isolation. Therapy sessions where I unpacked the hollowness. Was it satisfying? No, just a bitter salve on wounds that reopened. Revenge changed me profoundly. Stronger in knowledge, but adrift. Identity reclaimed, yet power diminished. The genealogist who unearthed roots now questioning if they anchored or uprooted. The theme settled sadly. Blood ties thin, vengeance thinning them to ghosts. In the end, as snow blanketed the Victorians' roof that Christmas, alone with a plate of cold turkey, tears salting the meat like the feast's ruin, triumph felt bittersweet, cathartic in the exposure, tragic in the voids left. Heart heavier, but perhaps, in the quiet ambiguity, a fragile peace, truths freed, even if they destroyed. The family phantom lingered, but so did I, scarred survivor in the winter's hush. Torian stood like a mausoleum of memory, its floral wallpaper curling at the edges, dust gathering on portraits of ancestors whose eyes I could no longer meet. I'd sold most of the estate, save for the attic, Grandpa's domain, the place where it all began. One evening, with light waning through lace curtains, I climbed the creaking stairs, heart thudding in the quiet. Boxes towered like sentinels, relics of the life I'd dismantled. And there, among brittle letters and yellowed photographs, I found something I'd missed, a sealed envelope addressed in Grandpa's shaky scrawl. "Nora," it read, "truth is a heavy inheritance. Protect it, but remember love roots deeper than lineage." The tears came then, not sharp like guilt, but soft, cleansing. For the first time, I understood what he'd meant. My revenge had exhumed rot, yes, but it had also unearthed something gentler. The fragile need for belonging, even in broken bloodlines. In the years that followed, I left genealogy as a profession. Instead, I opened the Lineage Foundation, a quiet nonprofit in Boston, helping adoptees trace not just DNA, but stories, connections, closure. I spoke at small gatherings, voice steadier now, not about revenge or fraud, but about forgiveness and the stories we inherit without choice. Sometimes on winter nights, I'd walk past the Charles River, its surface glassy beneath the moon, the city lights flickering like old memories. I'd think of Victor, wherever he'd gone, perhaps living under another name, or maybe finally at peace. In my mind, he wasn't the villain anymore, just another lonely branch on our crooked family tree. And as snow began to fall again, thin and soundless, I whispered to the wind, "We're all searching for where we belong." No reply came, just the hush of peace settling over me like a long-delayed exhale. Final line. In the end, it wasn't blood that defined us.